Hey guys, it's Savannah and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing another crochet and chat. I have finished the flap for my Optimus bag since the last time we did this, and I have also done one strap for the bag. So today I'm going to work on the second one. So how have you guys been since the last time I saw you? I have been doing pretty good, if I do say so myself. It is very hard for me to believe that it is already July. I have no idea where time has gone. The first half of the year went by so fast. I usually feel like the first half of the year is just super slow, like it takes forever to get through. But this year it's gone by very quickly. So 4th of July is this week. Usually not my favorite holiday. I've been pretty terrible with fireworks shows these last several years. I do have anxiety, so these last several years I feel like just the loudness and because usually my cousin will set off fireworks at the house as a fireworks show instead of us going to the city's big one. But just the proximity of them and feeling just the force they set off and it feeling like it shakes the area really has made my anxiety just rear its head during those. But even just watching city shows, it is sometimes difficult for me. But I've been working on that and trying to get better at it. Last year, on the 3rd, I joined my boyfriend's family at their house, and we set off our own fireworks there. And I actually had a really good time doing that, and it was not difficult for me at all. It did not trigger my anxiety or anything like that, and I really enjoyed it and had such a good time doing it. And so I'm joining them again for that this year. We'll be doing that on the 5th this year though. I'm not sure what my family is doing for the 4th yet. Usually we hang out at my aunt's house, swim, grill, just chill and enjoy the day. So I don't know if we're doing that or not. I'll have to find out. But it is definitely going to throw off my week having Thursday off for the holiday. I do need to find the 4th of July. I believe I made 4th of July bandanas for Georgie and Ivy last year. I need to find them if I did. I have been trying to find a full-time job recently. Well, not recently. Pretty much this whole past year I've been trying to find a full-time job, or even just a part-time job in my field that pays better than the job I currently work at, which is also part-time. But I am just not having any luck in that. And it's really frustrating because I'm like, I'm 25. I have a bachelor's and a master's. And yet I can't find anything. Part of it is the place I live does not have much for my degree. But even the places I do apply don't hire me. And so it's frustrating. It is disheartening. It really cuts you down. But I am doing my best to stay positive, keep on doing it, and have faith that the doors will open that need to be opened for me. Especially when my boyfriend and I are doing our best to move forward in our relationship and want to get married and start a family soon. But also the economy sucks right now. And what's really sad is when my parents bought their first home back in 1988, their home was $46,500. You can't find anything like that anymore. You're lucky if you find anything under $200,000 in our area. And it's the same area where they bought their first house. So pretty much all that is to say, the economy sucks. I wish it would get better. I need more options to apply for jobs. I need somebody to hire me. And praying and having faith that what will come to pass is just my constant state of being at this point. and I know it will happen when it will happen. But I do wish it was my timing sometimes. I have been trying to read more lately, and I did actually start a new book last week while I was spending the morning at the lake house with Cole and his family. The Iron King is what it is called. It's a young adult fantasy novel, and the first in a series. I'm sure several of y'all are familiar with it, but it is actually really interesting because it doesn't start out fantasy. It starts out in the modern world, and I have not gotten to the actual fantasy part of it yet. I'm only like 20 pages in or something like that, but I am actually still really interested in it, even though I haven't gotten to the fantasy section yet. But it was... Sometimes I have more interest in young adult fantasy than adult fantasy, because I just don't want to read all the spicy stuff. It's not really my thing, so I can do without that in a lot of adult fantasy. But also some young adult fantasy is better written than adult fantasy. Gotta check my pattern. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. But what really drew me to the Iron King is it has fairies in it, and I've always liked fairies. But also it seems to be based in some Irish mythology, which I have a lot of, well, not a lot of. I'm American, so a bit of everything, but a good portion of my ancestry is Irish, and I've been wanting to try and connect to that a bit more. So their mythology is something that just is an easy way to connect to them with. So that's one reason why I was drawn to it. The lake house also was a lot of fun. We were able to ride the pontoon boat around the lake and then use that to go tubing. And I had never done tubing before last week, and it was definitely an experience. I may not look it, but I am an adrenaline junkie, so it was definitely something that I enjoyed once I got over my worries about it, which we were safe. We wore life jackets on it. So even when we fell off, we were not at any risk. We had the life jackets. But my impression of tubing beforehand were all those crazy videos of people doing insane stunts on them and going super fast and getting a whole bunch of air. Not necessarily wakeboarding. Wakeboarding is something different. It was tubing videos. But once I really got on there, I really enjoyed it. The adrenaline junkie side of me wanted to just keep doing it, but my pathetic weak muscles said no. I was very sore after doing it just 3 times Monday, and I could barely move at all Tuesday when I got up. It took me over an hour to get out of bed last Tuesday because I was so sore in my shoulders that I could hardly even roll over. But when I went back on Wednesday, I was like, I don't care how sore I am doing it again. My first ride, I was thrown off. I had not been thrown off or fallen off at all on Monday. First ride on Tuesday, I was thrown off. It was really... I'm told Cole did his best to grab me and hold me on the tube. I didn't even realize. My only thought going through my head was, hold your breath. I did ride it a couple times after that. Next ride I did, I rode with his mom, and she had told his dad before we got on there, not as fast as with the kids, and not as long. I don't think he listened. Neither of us think he listened. But it was definitely not as bumpy as when I ride with Cole. The weight differential really makes it bumpy for me, and I flop around like a fish. And then the last time I rode, we took the 7-pound weenie dog on with us, and so that one was definitely slow and short. But Ozzy, the dog, seemed to enjoy it. He fully laid down at one point for like 2 seconds, and then he got up and was looking around. And yes, he was wearing a life jacket too, and it was really cute. Oh, I wanted to ask y'all, do you guys have any book recommendations? I'm always interested in hearing about what people like to read and would love to hear your recommendations and what you guys think about them without any spoilers in case I decide I want to read. But you guys know I like fantasy. I also enjoy nonfiction, history, archaeology, biographies, true crime, things like that. But I also would just like to hear about anything you guys think I would enjoy. I totally forgot I was wearing a necklace. You can't see it, it's just a small little pendant. I was thinking earlier about projects I am particularly proud of or just enjoy. First one that came to mind was my iris scarf pattern. That one is the first pattern I ever designed. I learned a lot while making and designing that pattern, but also I am just proud of it because I designed it because I wanted to make my aunt something for her birthday, and no pattern that I was really seeing on Ravelry was really screaming that it was my aunt. Because you know how you have these patterns that are like, yes, that definitely reminds me of this person. I wasn't seeing anything like that at all. So I wanted to make something that really felt like her. And so that led me to creating and designing the iris scarf. So it is definitely something that I really hold dear to my heart and am proud of still to this day, because it really exposed me to pattern designing and really got me hooked on it. You really can't tell by my 30, 40 something patterns I have designed at this point. I really don't think it's that many, but it really might be. Another pattern I'm proud of is Baby's First Teddy. That one was created and designed for my cousin's new baby. I will be able to give it to her at her baby shower near the end of this month. But my mom wanted me to crochet a teddy bear for the baby to go along with the rest of the present that she got him. And it is the first pattern that I designed that was based on a reference photo of a teddy bear that my mom showed me. So it was a lot of designing and tweaking and frogging and redoing, but it turned out super adorable and sweet. And I'm really proud of it too, because it is for my cousin's first boy. They have 2 daughters, but this is the first boy and they've been really wanting a boy. So it'll just be super sweet to be able to give that to her and just be able to celebrate that sweet little boy. Another pattern I'm super proud of, or just really makes me proud of myself, is my Beatrice off-shoulder top. It is the first garment pattern that I have designed. I've made several tops before, following others' patterns, but this is the first top that I have designed myself. I'm also super proud of it because it uses a lot of, well, let me phrase this differently. It is a fingering weight top that uses different stitches to create a lacy design. Lacy designs can be difficult to work if you don't count everything correctly, and so I was very proud with how it turned out. But it's also the first pattern I've tried to grade. So I am still wanting to release it as a pattern, but I'm still looking for testers for it to be able to make sure that I graded it properly and that it'll be good for other people, because everybody is different. Every person's body is different, and so it is definitely not a one-size-fits-most pattern. It needs to be tested by different people with different body shapes. So to finish this self-plug, if you are at all interested in testing my Beatrice off-shoulder top, I will leave the link for the form in the description below, but I will also be posting it on my community tab soon. I am also really proud of my scrappy blankets. One, because making a scrappy blanket means that I have used up a lot of yarn in my stash to have those scraps, both the DK and fingering weight. And I have had a problem these last couple years of buying yarn and not using it. And I've been trying to stash bust these last couple years because of that. Not always successfully, mind you. Secondly, I am proud of my scrap blankets because I feel they are really unique. I am designing the pattern that I am making the blankets out of. And so designing a pattern is always rewarding. It stretches your creative brain muscles and really your patience in general. And if you're having to use math at all, your math skills. Mine, I feel like, are fairly non-existent. But it seems to be working for me so far. But it's also something I'm proud of because you don't really see a lot of circular blanket patterns out there. You certainly don't see hardly any, if any at all, that have 8 sides. So I am very proud of myself for being able to figure out a way to make an 8-sided blanket. But also they are just so much fun to work on because you have so many different colors and because of what yarns you chose to buy, they can look very different. I am working both a DK weight scrap blanket and a fingering weight scrap blanket. Both of them are looking very different. My DK weight blanket is a lot brighter and happier looking because the yarns that I'm using for that are largely very bright and colorful. There are a couple moody sections, yes, but the brightness of the other yarns overpowers that. My fingering weight blanket is a lot moodier because the majority of the yarns that I'm using for that one are darker and moodier. But that doesn't mean I don't like it any less. I think that's enough of my soapbox on that. It's also just rewarding to see how it visibly grows. Sometimes it doesn't feel like you are making any progress at all, especially as I work the single crochet rounds. But then every time I do one of my Sunday scrappy blanket updates and I measure it, I get to see what progress I've actually made. So it's just very rewarding. Because right now, as of last night, each side is at almost 12 inches, and I'm at about 28.5 inches from one edge to another, going across. I did not pay attention in geometry, so I cannot remember if it's the radius or what. So if you know, I would appreciate you telling me. I'm also particularly fond of my scrappy blanket because I came up with the idea of wanting to do a scrappy project early last year, but for a while searched for a design that I liked but couldn't find one, and then decided on wanting to make one myself. And it wasn't really until last September that I had the inspiration for what I wanted to do. But when I wanted to start it, it was about time for me to go to the Auburn game with Cole, his dad, and his brother. Well, there's a clear bag policy at stadiums, so I knew if I was going to do that, if I was going to go to the game, I would want to take a crochet project with me. And at the time, all of my other projects were too big to fit in my bag. So I put a handful of my leftover scraps into a Ziploc baggie with a crochet hook, put it in the bag, and took it to the game with me, and started trying to figure out how I wanted to start the blanket. It was the first time that Cole has ever seen me crochet. Usually I don't crochet around him right now because, one, I usually crochet at home and we are not living together at this point. We will not be living together until we get married. Two, I usually want to just enjoy my time with him, and I usually don't crochet around him because I like to talk to him. I mean, that's kind of an important part of our relationship, is talking. So that was the first time that Cole ever saw me crochet, was sitting at an Auburn game, which is his team. But I was paying attention to the game too. I remember Auburn won, which was important. But also I was actually paying attention to what was happening on the field and yelling when they made stupid plays. So, but it's really funny because his dad, when our parents first met, his dad was telling that story, and he still laughs about the fact that I took crochet to a football game. So Mama was laughing after we got home, and she was telling me that his dad was laughing as he told that story. And thinking about it still makes me giggly. But one project I have made that I did not design, that I am proud of, is the Sea Star Scallop Granny Square Tote. It is by Sea Star Crochet. I believe that is the name of it. Hang on. Yes, it is Sea Star Crochet. I was remembering correctly that crochet was a part of her name. But I was a part of the tester group for the Sea Star Granny Tote, the Sea Star Scallop Granny Tote. And she's just such a great person. And the pattern was very well written and enjoyable. But other than that, I am proud of the project because it is the first granny square pattern that I have completed. Because I'm not talking just individual granny squares, I'm talking about making a bunch of them and then sewing them together to form something. So I've been crocheting 7 years at this point, and I had never completed a granny square pattern until earlier this year. But not only is it a granny square pattern that I completed, it's also something that I made that I consistently use. I actually use the bag and take it places. Like, I used it to go to the lake house last week. I've used it to go to farmers markets. If I don't want to carry around my backpack that I use as a purse, I'll put my stuff in there and take it. Sometimes as a crocheter, I feel like we fall into the trap of making things and then not using them. I know a lot of things I make I have not used. So it's just nice and rewarding to have made something and actually use it fairly regularly. I've enjoyed doing this crochet and chat video and my first one from a couple weeks ago. But I do feel like I'm a fairly boring person, so I don't usually have a lot to talk about for these. So last week I posted on my community tab asking if you had any questions for me. Partly for just these videos, but also partly because we hit 100 subscribers probably a couple months ago now and have not dropped below, so I want to do a Q&A video. So if you have any questions that you want to ask me, feel free to head on over to that post on my community tab and ask me those questions. In fact, ask me those first day of school icebreaker questions. You know what I'm talking about with those, right? Those dreaded icebreakers. Go ahead and ask those. I've not done any of those in a long time, so I'm excited to hear those. But also, if you have any conversation topics that you want me to talk about on another crochet and chat video, you can leave those in the comments of this video down below. It would really help me because, like I said, I feel like I am fairly boring and don't really have a lot of things to talk about a lot. Alright, let's see. Looks like I got a bit more than half of this strap done. So I should probably be able to finish this strap today and figure out where exactly they should go on my bag. But I believe that is all I'm going to do for this crochet and chat video. I hope you guys had fun on this one and got some work done on a project. But I will see you guys for the next video, whether that would be another crochet and chat or another podcast. So until next time, y'all, happy crocheting.